Hey, how are we doing today? I was thinking recently about people who come to see me for the first time, and that's going to be pretty stressful. And I forget about that. After doing this for 30 something years, I forget that stress is I am looking just to help people, and that's about it. So I wanted to kind of spend some time today talking about if you're new, if you've been listening for a while and you're not a client, what's that like? And it may not be for all financial advisors. I can speak to what happens when people come to see us, just to kind of get a sense of what that looks like. Because maybe you were referred to us and you're like, oh, this guy's got a podcast. Let me take a look. And you're listening to this, or we kind of connected online through LinkedIn or whatever and matched up somewhere. Odds are you probably talked to me on the phone, maybe 50-50, 75% of the time I'll talk to somebody on the phone before they come in. And it's maybe 15 minutes. And now you're coming in and there's all these expectations, and that can add stress. I heard someone say once, this is going to be 28, 30 years ago, this is like going to the dentist, and that hurts. That hurts a lot. It's like, oh, wow, that's a lot of negative emotion dealing with it. And I can totally relate. I'll tell you a funny story that meanders a bit. I used to go to the doctors, and I wasn't a fan of the doctors, and I'll talk about why in a second. And it first started as an adult. I had a series of across a couple of years of sinus infections. And it turns out it was my own fault. I was blowing my nose too hard and then doing other things. And it was stupid what I was doing. And this was back in the days when old Sudafed was legal, and you could get it anywhere, the crystal meth style Sudafed. Great stuff. If you want to lose weight, that was great stuff to take if you wanted to lose weight. If you wanted to start getting jittery after 5 days, fantastic stuff. It was awful, but it was the only way I can clear with a sinus infection. The only way I could clear my nasal passages, let them drain and all of that. But I start the Sudafed as soon as I knew I had a sinus infection, go to the doctor to get my prescription for the amoxicillin, and they take my blood pressure. And it was like, 5 billion over 2 billion. It was just stupid high. I forget what the number was. And they go, your blood pressure is really high. And I go, yeah, I know. I'm on Sudafed and I don't like it, but I have to be because I've got this thing going on in my head and it needs to go away. And the pressure is brutal and we need to get this going. Oh, okay. Then they made Sudafed illegal. You had to, ask for it behind the counter. And I figured out what I was doing wrong. I didn't get sinus infections anymore. And I still went to the doctor. My blood pressure was still high. It was like 140 over 90. Like it's one of the what's the line from Van Halen? I don't feel tardy. I don't feel high blood pressure. Doesn't seem like it's a big deal. And so I go to the CVS like the following week. I'd be in CVS and go over to the little machine and put my arm in. Yeah, 122 over 78, 80, something like that. I wonder why. And it dawns on it's actually my new doctor, my doctor now. So this is 4 or 5 years ago. It's going to be 5 years ago. It's pre-COVID. I go in and his nurse is taking my blood pressure. She said, it's a little high. I said, it's never high. She said, you just don't like being here. Oh, I hadn't thought about that before. And I started really thinking at that time of why don't I like going to the doctor? And it stems back to, it starts in fourth grade. Fourth grade, we had in the 70s, early 80s. If you're a conspiracy nut, you're thinking, oh yeah, this is like, MK Ultra it's the government tracking us and things like that. It wasn't just, remember the hearing test you had in school and you raised your hand and you raised your other hand if you could hear things. Sometimes they did vision tests. I know in first grade, we did a colorblind test. I am as colorblind as they can be. It's terrible. My wife sent a Snapchat to all of us. It's a picture of the sky. And I responded right away to the Snapchat. Can anybody help out the colorblind guy here? It was just a picture of the sky. I'm sure there were purples in it. I can't see purple. It's like purple and green are my two difficult colors. It's like, and they're on the opposite side and they blend in. And so it makes browns difficult. It makes grays difficult. It makes reds difficult. Blues are easy. Yellows are easy because they're opposite. So they did that test. But in fourth grade, they bring this doctor in and they check everybody's heart. as if that we've never had our hearts checked before, like we've never been to the doctors. It wasn't, I didn't grow up in some, old mill inner city that nobody went to the doctor. I was in a middle-class town, and they bring this doctor in to check everybody's heart. And he's listening to my heart, and okay, so I'm there, and he's listening. He leans back. He listens again really carefully. He leans back, listens a third time. He's like, are you aware you have a heart murmur? What's a heart murmur? Nothing really to worry about. Probably something that's natural. Not a big deal. I'm just curious if you've ever heard that before. No, you have a mitral valve problem. It's like a leaking valve. And I'm going to write this thing down and take it home. And I take it home. My mother freaks out. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Off we go to the pediatrician, which is, I think it was Dr. Schreiber at the time. Dr. Schreiber, his son was actually, I went to school with his son. So in we go. He listens. He goes, I don't hear a thing, but it's on my chart. It's now on my medical chart. Okay. They go through a couple of the doctors, and it gets to my late teens when I can drive myself. I had the worst doctor, and it wasn't the worst doctor that he was a bad doctor. It was just his bedside manner was horrific. Reardon, maybe something like that. I forget exactly what his name was. He's long retired, obviously. So you don't have to worry about bumping into him tomorrow. And he just didn't, he was just kind of a gruff guy, not real, no bedside manner, like zero. So he looks in the chart. He goes, what's this thing about this mitral valve? I said, I don't know. It's fourth grade. Explain the whole thing. We'll get it taken care of. We're going to schedule up. And I was very happy about this. We're going to schedule up an echo of your heart. You're going to come in this special time. And this is, again, it's going to be like 1985, 86. So, bringing in that little thing that they do in the obstetrician's office and everything, check the babies and things, was like a big deal. You had to go to a specialist and this and that. Okay, we're going to take this video recording of that. And so I go on a Saturday morning, and you walk into this medical center, and they're no help. They are no help whatsoever. I go up, and the lady's just like, I'm trying to get to, just go up the stairs. She doesn't even look at me. Just go up the stairs, and just raises her hand. Okay. So I kind of wander upstairs. I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know. I'm 18 years old, scared to death of all of this. I don't want to look foolish. Everybody seems to think I know what I'm doing, and I have no idea. I've never done this before. Can't they see I'm just 18? I'm not 36 with a full beard or something. I'm new at this. Help me out. 2 years ago, my mother was dragging me to doctor's appointments. Just cut me a break. So I go in. Nurse was great. Actually, though, the technician that did it, I was in and out of there in 5 minutes. I said, when am I going to find out? She's like, we'll call you if there's a problem. Okay. I'm thinking as Dennis, the human being, how about you call me no matter what? How about that? Because that way I know that everything's either fine or not fine, because you could see a problem and then forget to call me. And this specific medical group that thankfully doesn't exist anymore was kind of famous for losing records. They would do it regularly. And this doctor I had was part of this medical group, and we had to keep on it. I go for my next appointment. He has no record of the echo in my chart at all. Hey, we'll take a look at it. We'll get that for you. Okay. I change doctors and request the records. No echo records come across. So I had a bunch of experience, and then I had some issues with an accident and had bad doctors there. But yeah, didn't like doctors at all. At all. It's not something I liked, because it was people that just didn't seem to care about me. And that was a big deal. And I think that's a lot of us. Some of it's the, what are they going to do to me? What's wrong? And some of it's the, why are you treating me this way? And that really hit home. And it wasn't until 2 doctors ago, my doctor before this doctor retired, and he really cared. He listened to me. That was shocking. Wow, listens to me. He'd help me out. He's like, look, I'm not looking for the world. I'm not going to tell you you're a terrible person because of whatever you're doing health-wise. If you can do this, that'd be great. Okay. And then I've got my doctor now, because my doctor retired, and he's younger than me. And I'm sure if you're of the over 50 age, you're bumping into that. Wait a second. My doctor, he was in grade school when I had my children. Hang on, hold on. This is a bit weird. But he's great. is he comes in like an old friend. He sits down. We talk about things. He's got my chart up to date. He's sitting there on the computer, updating it as he goes. He's asking about things we talked about 2 or 3 years ago and makes me feel great. So I went in November for my regular physical. And the nurse comes in and she checks my blood pressure. 122/78. Because I'm not freaked out over it. I'm just not anymore, because I got that sense of, okay, this is what's going to occur, and this person definitely cares about me. So I can appreciate that the places that people can be is you can be in that stressed place of what's going to happen. And I don't know this person and all of that. And there's that place of comfort. And I want to get people in that place of comfort. That's a big deal to me is being comfortable allows you to make good decisions about your money. It allows you to evaluate things as opposed to making a snap decision based on stressors. So kind of what do we do when we bring someone in for their first appointment? It's very much like that regular physical with your doctor. Is we need to look at everything. We're going to, and like my doctor does with me, we're going to ask a bunch of questions. We're not just going to sit there and silently look at this and that. We're going to spend some time with documents, but we're going to spend a lot of time talking and finding out what's really going on, because that's the real key. It's not the facts are important. The feelings are just as important. As I have clients that are like, well, we have a choice of this or that. And I'm always happy when I can tell them this. I'll tell somebody, well, financially, this would be better than that. But I get the feeling that you'd prefer that. And that, while it will cost you money, won't jeopardize your retirement. So if you'd prefer to do that, you can do that. Even though the absolute truth is, oh, financially, the best bet is this. You want that, we can make that happen. I love those days. I love those days when the financial decisions aren't about the money. So sit down, we look at all the documents, and I want to say something about the documents. I am Mr. Privacy. I can't explain that any better. We hold all our client accounts at Charles Schwab, and I've been doing that for near 30 years. There's a reason for it. Is in 30 years, they have shown to me their concern over privacy and protecting client accounts over and over and over again. That's a big deal to me. So I'm also the guy that somebody says, what's your social security number? And I say, none of your business. You really have to give me a good reason for me to give you my social security number. So we give people who come in for a consultation, we give them a laundry list of items to bring. And we tell them, bring what you feel comfortable bringing. If you don't feel comfortable bringing a tax return because your social security number is right at the top, I'm okay with that. That's okay. You're not going to offend me. I understand, because I feel the same way. I have that sense of privacy as, look, you're not getting inside my bubble. My bubble is mine. And until I trust you, you're going to stay outside of my bubble. If somebody feels that way, I think that's excellent. I stress that to people is bring what you feel is comfortable. But we're going to look through, we're going to spend a lot of time just talking. The whole meeting probably lasts an hour and 15 minutes. Spend a lot of time talking about your situation. How about this? How does this work? What are your feelings on this? Because again, the feelings are important. We'll then also pour through the data, and I'll ask questions about your 401k statement, your auto insurance, whatever that we have that we bring. And yes, we do ask for things like auto insurance. I want to make sure that you're covered as much as I can view it on every level of your financial life. It's not just, what are my investments doing? Can I retire? Which is the number one, number two, probably number two, number one in that order of things people are concerned about. There's a whole laundry list of other issues. So we'll talk about all of that, talk about family dynamics, depending on the age of the people, maybe with their kids, maybe with their parents, get a little bit of both from that. And one of the things that I feel is really important, not everyone that comes to see me is going to be a client. Not everyone that becomes a client is going to be a long-term client. My goal when I bring somebody on as a client is I want one of us to leave the relationship by either retiring or passing away. is probably the best way to. I want a client for life. That's my goal. Is I have clients that have been with me for 30 years, 25 years, and that's very important to me. That relationship allows me to give them the best financial advice. It allows them to trust that financial advice. So it's a big deal. But not everybody is going to say, yeah, I think Dennis is a good fit for me, because it's about fit just as much as anything else. My expertise may be spectacular, but if our personalities don't mix, it doesn't work. And that's okay. But one of the things I am adamant about, whether somebody becomes a client or not, man, if I see a big bridge out sign in your financial data, I'm going to tell you, regardless of, in that meeting is, look, I see a big problem here, whether you have us fix it or not. And it may not be fixable. It may just be something, but you've got this train barreling down on you and you're not aware. You're driving and there's this bridge out and you're not aware. I need to tell you that you need to get that taken care of no matter what. That's important to me, is to make sure of that. But looking at it, it's more an issue of looking at your situation, identifying these potential bridge out issues, but then talking about what it might take to get you to where you're trying to get to. And it depends on what you're trying to do. Is if you're just trying to get a better rate of return in your portfolio, or just have it managed better in terms of somebody keeping an eye on it, or it's a retirement goal, whether you've retired already or not. That's probably the number one thing people are concerned about is, can I stop working someday? Or I already stopped working. Did I make a mistake? Do I have enough money to make it last? At that point, we can discuss treatment options. Is what needs to be done to your situation. And most people, it's going through some sort of financial planning process. And the financial planning process has us gather all of that data that you brought, other data that you may not have brought because you didn't feel comfortable. We'll ask for that data. And obviously you're not gonna, have us treat your situation and bring you through the financial planning process if you didn't trust us in the first place. Gather all that together and put together a game plan. They call it a financial plan. And the financial plan is a very amorphous term. And I won't get into a whole lot of that today. I don't want to kind of veer off of this issue, which is the first appointment items. It looks at all of those areas. When I look at somebody's financial planning situation, I have 5 key areas. Retirement being the most important. That's what everybody's focused on. Investments are important. Income taxes are important. Estate planning is important. And what we call asset protection. Asset protection is just all of those things that we don't think about, like the auto insurance. Why do I look at auto insurance? I had a situation 20 or so years ago. Gosh, maybe it was 22 or 23, because my girls were little at the time. And this gentleman who was a retiree from, I forget where, but he was a licensed electrician. And in his retirement, he was doing electrical work as a subcontractor for another company. And he was doing very well for himself. He was a first-generation Irish immigrant, smart guy. And I'm looking over everything, and he had that first-generation immigrant to the U.S. mentality about things. And that mentality, and it's not bad, is I need to save as much as possible, which means I need to cut my costs as much as possible. So he had $1 million investment account. Congratulations for him. That was awesome. He had a nice house that was fully paid for. He had his work van, and he had basic compulsory auto insurance on the work van, which meant that if he got into a fender bender, the insurance company was only going to pay between $20,000 and $40,000. The rest of it he was on the hook for. Somebody could sue him, and they do discovery, and they go, wait a second, this guy's got $1 million portfolio. Let's go after him. It's those type of things that's asset protection, is making sure that you're not undercovered, and just as important, you're not overcovered. And overcovered a lot of times, especially as you get into your 50s and early 60s, is life insurance. Is you probably have too much life insurance. We tell people they have too much more often than we tell them that don't have enough. So those are all of those things within the financial planning process, is kind of getting a sense of all of that and bringing somebody through and walking with them on an ongoing basis. All of that is going to solve those problems. That's the end of it, believe it or not. And we'll explain, this is what we think you should do. This is what the cost is going to be. Take some time to think about it. And people are just as shocked at that than anything. Is I am at a place in my life where I want to help people that want to be helped. And I don't want to beat people over the head to try to help them. I remember back in the early 1980s, this is going to be 50 years ago, or 40 years ago, rather. There was a car dealership on Route 1 in Norwood. I forget which one it is. I want to name one, but I don't know it's that one. I didn't look it up to find out. But there's a couple of big car dealer names on Route 1 in Norwood. It's called they have this all over the country, the Auto Mile. This was like the first big Auto Mile south of Boston. There's been a couple of them since then. But this is the Auto Mile. Come down to the Auto Mile, buy a car. Well, this is the early 80s. It's pre-cell phone. And this car dealership had a habit of bringing a prospective buyer on a test drive. Isn't this great? Can we check out your car for the trade-in? They take the keys. That's typical. I've done that. I've handed them the keys. Go, here you go. And then look at them like, I'm getting those keys back because I'll just call the police. And I've never had an issue. It's been years since I've had to do that because I tend to buy used cars now. And I have a buyer that finds them for me. But anyways, this dealership had a series of conference rooms with no phones in them and locks on the door. So they'd sit you down in the conference room. What they would probably call this is our closing room. We're going to close them on this deal. We're going to close them. And they would lock these people. If they didn't agree to sign, they go, okay, well, let me go talk to my manager one more time. They'd leave the office, lock the door. Not like one of those bathroom locks that you can stick a paperclip in and get out. Like a real lock, like a key, and lock them in there for hours. Let us out, let us out, let us out. Yeah, unless the paperwork's right there. If you sign it, we'll let you out. And it was a while before the police actually got involved and said, you can't do that. That's called kidnapping. And that stuck with me. I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old. I thought that was the strangest thing. It's like, why didn't they just break through the wall? I mean, the wall's only wallboard. It's wallboard and it's a warehouse type building. The dealerships are made. It's got to be those steel 2x4s and thin wallboard. You can just break through that pretty easily. No, people were stuck there for literal hours and then sign up and then would be so mad. And I'm thinking, why would you do that to a customer? That not only are they never coming back for another car, they're going to tell everybody they know to never go see you for a car. It's just stupid, but that's what they did. We don't do that. I explain what treatment options need to be and then let the person decide. Some people say right away, you know what? Let's go. Absolutely. I'll get you that other information. Let's go forward. And that's awesome. Other people go, I need to think about it. And I go, okay, that's fine. I'll call you in a week and then I won't call you again because I don't want to be a pest. If they're trying to get rid of me, and I tell them this right up front, if you're trying to get rid of me politely hoping I don't make a scene, I don't want to make a scene. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Even if you never become a client, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. So that's really it. That's kind of the first meeting in a nutshell. I can't attest to every single financial advisor out there. That's the way we do it. That's the way I've been doing it for 30 plus years. That's the way, as my son-in-law, Justin, is sliding into the business, that's how he's dealing with it as well, is treat people right. Listen to them. Be mindful of their anxieties about money and strange relationships and all of that. Be respectful of that. Be understanding of that. And help them get to the place where they're supposed to be. So with that, I hope you have a great week and stay safe out there.
Thank you for listening to Your Successful Retirement with your host, Dennis O'Keefe. Please click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. You can find information for Dennis, our guests, or resources mentioned in today's episode in the show notes.